First, we want to thank you for being here. I am Reverend Curtis Gatewood, and today we are here introducing a new social justice campaign deeply rooted in spirituality, in truth, in love, in justice, in history, and even in constitutionality. First, let it be known that we are people of these United States of America whose ancestry signed their deed of this country for their posterity with the blood of the whippings and the lynchings, with the sweat of the sun up to sundown free labor, with the tears of institutional oppression and captivity. And in order to form a more perfect union, we need a universal understanding that we as a people have been whipped enough. We have been brutalized enough. We have bled and died long enough. And we therefore need universal standards for police operations here in the United States of America. Because the imperfections of what is supposed to be a union tear us further apart anytime there is a Rodney King in LA, anytime there is a Takara Wilson in Lima, Ohio, anytime there is a Mike Brown in Missouri, anytime there is a Amadou Diallo in New York, anytime there is a Philando Castile in Minnesota, anytime there is a Tanisha Anderson, a Melissa Williams, and a Timothy Russell in Cleveland, Ohio, and anytime right here in the state of North Carolina, there is an Ekiel Dennings or a Keith Lamont Scott or a Jonathan Farrell, it is time for a universal standard of policing in the United States of America. So therefore, we are here today to roll out, to do a couple of things. Number one, we want to roll out universal standards for police operations in the United States of America. And secondly, we want to announce on October 28th, the unfortunate killing of Emmett Till, brutally murdered in 1955, August 28, 1955. But also, it is the historic date of the March on Washington, also known as the March for Jobs and Freedom of 1963. We're going to be coming out and asking our country and our state to support the rollout of universal standards at every police department that we can, or at every state department of any part where we can have the Attorney General's office understanding we are serious today about policing. I'm going to roll out a few of our standards to give you an idea of why this is so necessary. First of all, if we look at our Constitution, under the 4th Amendment and under the 5th Amendment, as well as the 14th Amendment, it very well will support what we are asking the police department, law enforcement across the country to do. First of all, for example, we demand the universal abolishment of no-knock searches in the United States of America. Because in addition to the constitutionality questions, these searches present such a high risk of loss of life to both the police officer as well as the victim. We have incident after incident where these no-knock searches are also going into the wrong homes. So there is definitely a need to eliminate, abolish, to do away with no-knock searches. We demand the elimination of the blue wall of silence, where certain police officers seem to feel that they're obligated to not tell if a colleague is guilty of wrongdoing. We want to demand a universal zero tolerance of the United States of America's law enforcement being infiltrated by white supremacists, white nationalists, neo-Nazi or Confederacy sympathizers, and any others associated with racial violence or hatred toward African Americans and other people of color. Law enforcement agencies must thoroughly vet and screen all applicants or candidates and those currently serving as law enforcement officers to ensure zero tolerance in terms of their affiliation, participation, or shown sympathy toward any individuals or group that would try to advance white supremacy, white nationalism in the United States of America. Those found to be associated in any way with hate groups or philosophies which support white supremacy and or white nationalism must be denied employment as a law enforcement officer, terminated if already serving, and prosecuted where applicable. Now, you recently heard about a woman from Australia being killed by a police officer in Minnesota, who basically, after she called 911. This exemplifies what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "A threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." If we are not nipping in the bud these issues that disproportionately impact African Americans and other people of color, and like these beautiful children who are out here today, if we are not willing to nip it in the bud wherever it may be, it will get out of hand and it will knock on the doorstep of any American or any other person across this world. I think it's also interesting to note that we have statistics that will show, if we would just take the year 2015, for example. In 2015, not only is it recorded already that there was at least 104 African Americans who were killed unarmed in the United States of America. Out of the 104 that were killed, only 14 was charged. Out of the 14 that was charged, only 4 was convicted. Out of the 4 that was convicted, none served over 4 years. Also, the first 24 days of 2015, the first 24 days of 2015, get this, we had more killings in the United States of America than we had in a 24-year period of 2 nations combined, England and Wales. 2 nations combined, 24-year period, had less killings than the United States of America had in 24 days, the first 24 days of 2015. Also keep in mind, 2017, we are trending higher than 2015. So we definitely, without question, need universal standards. I'm not going to go through all the standards, but I'm going to say this. It should be clear, if we are going to be a civilized society, there is absolutely no way we can justify shooting a human being 41 times. There's no way we can justify shooting a man who has no gun or a woman who has no arm 10 times, 15 times, 16 times. We're here to say it is time for a universal standard to call upon minimal force, not maximum force. That would also mean that we want to demilitarize the police force. President Obama passed an executive order 13688 during the time that there was this rush to militarize Ferguson after the Mike Brown shooting. Those types of executive orders are now at risk because of the administration we have in office today. So rather than maximize, we have all the facts in the world to show that it is time to demilitarize and minimize force. in the United States of America. There's one other point I want to bring out, and then I want to bring on just a couple of other persons who would like to bring out a couple of more points. We universally demand that law enforcement prohibits the choking, any form of choking, any way you might cut off ventilation of a human being. It is not the police's responsibility to execute punishment. They're not the judge, the jury, and the executioner. It is their responsibility to carry the person into custody if it's a suspect with the proper probable cause and bring that person before a jury. Lastly, and then I please would like to turn it over to I have some friends here, some great men who came out today and women through the grace of God. We have Brother Reverend Mark Anthony Middleton, a local pastor here. We have one of our representatives of NAACP, although he's not here necessarily trying to represent the NAACP. This is not an NAACP initiative. Brother Gerald Givens. We also have Brother Anthony Ragland. We have Brother Bob Finch. We have Brother Elijah Finch. We have Alicia Finch. We have their beautiful family. And they are here standing as representative of the fact that we need to come together. They're just representing with us today. Brother Mark Anthony, God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Gatewood. Good morning, members of the press. Thank you for coming. My name is Mark Anthony Middleton. I'm the senior pastor of the Abundant Hope Christian Church in Durham. I'm also the host of the On the Table radio talk show, which airs on Choice FM. And I'm very pleased to stand here today in solidarity with the Stop Killing Us Solution-Based Initiatives movement. Just a couple of more planks in the universal demands of SKU. We universally demand all local municipalities to be required to establish an independent citizens review board as part of its local law enforcement budget and plan for a safe community. We don't think that this should be viewed as controversial. This is the United States of America. In our constitutional democracy, guns and uniforms answer to suits. The most lethal and well-trained military force on the face of the planet, namely the United States military, answers to a civilian. So the concept of civilians being involved in the oversight and review of our law enforcement, of the people that wear guns and uniforms in our society, is part of the bedrock of the American constitutional system. We universally demand any police officer or law enforcement officer within the United States found to have used excessive force of any kind, found through due process to have used excessive force of any kind, be immediately removed from the agency or department and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We also don't want that officer to be able to go and work somewhere else once they have that on their record. We universally demand that all police departments and all other law enforcement agencies be required to maintain records involving traffic stops, searches, home invasions, arrests, use of tasers, use of heavy tactical batons or billy clubs, use of physical force, the drawing of a weapon, the firing of a weapon, the shooting of a person, the actual killing of a person by law enforcement, and record any other action beyond a verbal or written warning from police or law enforcement agency. Thank you.
My name is Gerald Givens. I'm a United States Air Force veteran, retired after 20 years. I'll quickly state that the last time that I was racially profiled, I was in the mall shopping with my family. The police pulled me to the side and said that I fit the description of a young man that had stolen a rack of sunglasses. Even after I showed my military ID card, after I showed them my driver's license, after I showed them my top secret sensitive compartment identification security badge, which made me have more security clearance than the chief of police, I was detained for more than an hour before I was released. I had to experience the humiliation of my family watching me be detained, and also members of the community watching me stand there as I was detained. I didn't get an apology. I didn't get a written letter. I was embarrassed and humiliated in front of my family. We universally demand that all police officers and law enforcement agents be given random drug tests and regular mental health and psychological fitness testing. Regular, meaning prior to being hired and at least per year, twice per year after being hired. Mental health and psychological fitness should include receiving exams which could detect illness such as post-traumatic stress disorder, paranoia, and racial bias. Law enforcement candidates, applicants, or officers who fail such tests should be denied employment as a law enforcement officer. We universally demand the abolishment of military armored vehicles, drones, robot-driven explosives, gas or chemicals, or other similarly military devices or military tactics used towards citizens or persons of communities by law enforcement within the United States. A military approach of war mentally will ensure casualties and increase the likelihood of group perceived enemies and those who are considered targetable rather than respecting homes, communities, and each person's individual right to due process in a court of law as guaranteed in our Constitution. We universally demand any police or law enforcement officer who hits or in any way punishes an arrestee while in handcuffs be immediately terminated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Each person's individual right to due process in a court of law must be protected prior to punishment in accordance to the constitutional amendments. And finally, we universally demand police and law enforcement officials be prohibited from using any method of choking, covering a person's head, nose, or mouth, cutting off ventilation, or in any way making it difficult for a person to breathe during an encounter or an arrest. Doing so should result in termination and prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. Any person who poses no deadly threat cannot be lawfully deprived of life, liberty, property without due process.
Mother, community activist, and these issues definitely affect me. I'm a mother of 4 males, and you know, I feel like it's my responsibility to make the world a better place for them. So I am willing to do whatever I have to do to make that reality. So we universally demand that all law enforcement agencies within the United States have a clear operating policy regarding de-escalation, which requires agents and officers to imperatively learn, practice, and be held accountable to proven de-escalation techniques prior to becoming certified. If we were to use the year 2015 as a guide, although as of 2017 we are trending upward in killings by police since 2015. Police in the United States fatally shot more people in the first 24 days of the year than police did in England and Wales combined over the past 24 years. We therefore universally demand that law enforcement officers within the United States be trained and held accountable toward a standard that is equally civilized when compared to other developed nations. We universally demand the usage of minimal deadly force. We demand the total abolishment of the inhumane and uncivilized practice of shooting to kill persons who have no firearm and or those running in the opposite direction. We further believe this universal standard of minimal deadly force would criminally prosecute to the fullest extent of the law and law enforcement officers within the United States who clearly shoots an unarmed individual multiple times or with the intent to kill.
We want you to get a good look at these beautiful children, because these are human beings. These are the type of people that we are standing here to defend and protect. As a minister of the gospel, I've been ordained to protect the sheep. As a good shepherd, we've been ordained to protect the sheep. There's been a lot of hirelings that Jesus will refer to, those who come to collect money to do a service, then leave the sheep to be scattered by the wolves. These are people who are willing and ready to rise up. Therefore, we're calling on our community, across North Carolina, across the country, to rally behind these universal standards on August 28th at 6 p.m. We're calling upon the community to join us. Those of you who may not know how to get in touch with me, they can call me at 919-939-6311. They can send me an email, Gatewood Loves, L-O-V-E-S, Justice, at gmail.com. And they can let me know if they would like to be a part of a new movement which will say simply, stop killing us. Can somebody help me say, stop killing us. Stop killing us. Stop killing us. Any questions?
Why is it important to have universal demands?
The reason why it's important to have universal demands, as I started out earlier, we're having killings throughout the country. Almost every day we turn on the TV, there's a new killing. It could be like I said, in Lima, Ohio, where a SWAT team came in and actually shot a mother who's standing with her 14-month-old child, shot and killed the mother, shot the infant twice, and only the good news, the baby survived. But we can no longer assume that each police department knows what to do in this country. It is necessary because of the day whether we look at Tamir rights, like for example. One of the standards that we failed to mention today is the need for police officers to live in the city limits or county where they serve. Had police known Tamir Rice and that family, they would have not driven up in 2 seconds and shot a child playing with a toy gun. They would have already known that family. They would have had an idea. So it is important to have universal standards. So whether you're in LA, whether you're in New York, or whether you're in Mayberry, you need to understand there are certain things you cannot do in the United States of America, and we can no longer assume that you know what to do based upon what we've seen already. The first videotape that came out that showed us the whipping and beating of Rodney King, that gave us more information than we needed to understand that there is a need for a universal standard in the United States of America. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and present. This is on behalf of the North Carolina Attorney General. We're going to give a copy, a fresh copy. We're going to give them a color copy of the universal standards that they will receive on behalf of the Attorney General here in North Carolina. Thank you. In fact, let's give her a copy as well.
We'll review it, and we look forward to meeting with you and continuing to discuss the issues you raised. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
I'll get you. It's a brother. Yes, sir. Oh.
I'll reach in people's pockets.
I'm Reverend Curtis Gatewood. I am a community minister. I'm not wearing a title today. I'm here to do the people's business, serve.
And
first of all, these universal standards have been a long time coming. Unfortunately, there has been somewhat of a void at the federal level. I know President Obama came out and he tried to bring out some clarity as to what police officers should do after doing some investigation after the fact if so many had already been killed, and even those have laid over and just gathered dust since President Obama came out and even with his executive order. So what we are saying today is it is time for the people to come together. The people of these United States, and hold accountable the police departments, the State Attorney General, Department of Justice, our Sheriff Department, all sources of law enforcement, and use these standards as a guide to make sure every local department is being held to a similar standard. We can no longer assume that law enforcement knows what to do when we see them shooting 41 times at one target. There was a couple in Cleveland, Ohio. The car backfired, and they had about 62 cars following them, and by the time they got to their destination, neither person armed, police officer gets up on top of the car, shoots into the windshield, shooting each victim at least nearly 20 times each. A woman and a man, unarmed. We can no longer assume that police know what to do. And so we're here to say, here are standards that are based in Constitution, they are based in insanity, they are based in civility. And so we would like to help the police department as a community and the law enforcement community understand that we know in other developed countries, people are not being killed by police every day. We gave the example of 24 days into 2015, there were more people killed than in England and Wales, two countries within a 24-year period. These two countries combined. We're no longer going to tolerate this type of insanity coming from people who are there to protect and serve us. So we have redefined serve and protect today. We are here to serve our community, protect our community, love our community. Our community is in need of love, not a military attitude to come in and kill. After today, August 28th, we're going to have a big day on August 28th in various parts of the state. We're calling on people to give me a call or send me an email, Gatewood Loves Justice, L-O-V-E-S, Loves Justice @gmail.com. And we will help you organize, if you would like to, at 6:00 p.m. Visit your local police department on August 28th, regardless of where you may live, simultaneously, and deliver these universal standards to your local police department simultaneously at 6 p.m. across the state, across the country. We want to give those local officials until September 11 to respond. September 11, as you know, 11 commemorates a day where we felt we had a terrorist attack. Well, what we don't need is terror on our streets every day by domestic terrorists and by those who might wear the uniform. So by September 11, we're going to be asking for a response after we have a united day of action on August 28th. And from that point, we will continue to give a follow-up after follow-up. We're not going to sit back and wait on the next killing or the next choking. Well, what we're going to do, and we have already in place certain people, and I'm glad you asked that, because we do have other states that are involved already. In fact, we have a gentleman from Philadelphia who's going to march 21 days to D.C. Leading up to August 28th. So we have, and he's also agreed to try to work with states in the north, New York, New Jersey, Maryland. I think Delaware is also a part of what they're trying to do. But we have people working in various states. And with your help of community, local media, and people who will help us to try to bring sanity to our society, I'm sure we'll be hearing from other people who will want to participate.
Reverend Gatewood is right about not having a society where we feel like we have terrorism on our street. I was 16 years old. It was the first time that I was racially profiled. Coming back from a party with some of my friends in high school, from a high school dance, and we were surrounded by about 6 or 7 police cars. Myself and 2 more of my friends from my high school were removed from the vehicle. They began to interrogate us, asked us what our street names were. They made us take off our shirts so that they can see if we had tattoos on our bodies. From age 16 to age 21, I was terrified of the police. And the only reason why I wasn't terrified anymore was because I was in the United States Air Force, and I became a police officer in the Air Force. It has to stop. And this is about our children. It's about the safety of the community. And we want to put an end to this. It's time to create a new standard. I lived in the United Kingdom for 4 years, and not one day did I ever fear for my life. It didn't happen again until I came back home. Stop killing us. Racism has always been a part of American institutions from the beginning. I come from a family of veterans. My father served in Vietnam. Grandfather served in the Korean War. Great-grandfather in World War II. So, and I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's all about progress. And in each generation, from my great-grandfather to myself, we've done that a little bit each year, each time we could, to chip away at racism. It's there, it's been a part of America. But we just have to each keep doing our part to dismantle it and eliminate it piece by piece.
Ronnie came off the streets. He, you know, the scripture will say this. The scripture says, when the good shepherds arrive, the sheep will know their voices. They will know the realness, and they will come. And so this is a brother who came to let us know. He said, I want to be a part of this. Give me more information. Can we stay in touch? So I'm giving this brother my personal number. And so I want you to call me.
Yes, sir.
And you're the exact voices that we need telling this story. Let me see. That's my number, brother. Courtesy Gatewood.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for everything that you're doing.
God bless you.
Because it needs to be addressed.
God bless you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.